Welcome, everyone, to this explainer for the Foundry by Forge College. I am absolutely thrilled to have you in the lab today. We're putting on our hard hats, grabbing our diagnostic tools, and setting out on a very specific mission to diagnose, treat, and completely cure broken smart contract architecture. Today, we're diving into debugging advanced inheritance and edge cases. If you've ever built a smart contract that looked absolutely perfect on paper, but completely fell apart in practice, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get to work.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our step-by-step debugging schematic for today. We'll start with our welcome to the lab, look at the optimization hangover, tackle bug 1, selector collisions, then bug 2, state inconsistency, review the regression test arsenal, and finally, locking down the blueprint.
Welcome to the lab, Advanced ERC 721 Dev. Just to ground us real quick, this lab sits squarely within the Building Advanced ERC 721 Contracts module of our wider Web3 track. Now let's rewind the tape a bit. In our previous step, we set up some benchmarking tools. And, we kind of acted like ruthless efficiency experts. We were aggressively packing variables, shoving ownership booleans, timestamps, and indexes into a single tight storage slot. Why? All to save on those precious gas costs and dodge those heavy S-load operations. We were celebrating our highly optimized code, but, as we all know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Section 2, the optimization hangover. Fragile architecture. And that brings us to the morning after, the optimization hangover. So what does this all mean? Why did our highly optimized smart contract suddenly break? Well, in our quest for the absolute lowest gas costs, we basically stitched together a highly optimized, multi-inherited set of modules and accidentally created a fragile Frankenstein's monster. While the gas went down, our complexity shot way up, and it created these invisible breaking points deep within how Solidity resolves its instructions.
Section 3, Selector Collisions, the Identity Crisis.
So we have a major architectural flaw here, which is basically an identity crisis. On the left, an inherited module called feature A has a supports feature function, and it returns true. Over on the right, feature B has the exact same function, but it returns false. Now, our main contract inherits both of them, so they're acting like two employees with the exact same name, trying to answer the exact same intercom page. I mean, which one is actually supposed to answer?
Let's define this clearly so you can spot it in the wild. A selector collision happens when multiple inherited modules share the exact same function name and signature. Under the hood, Solidity creates a bytes-for hash called a selector for every single function. Because the names and the parameters are identical, the hashes are identical. This causes total code ambiguity. Depending on the order of inheritance, actually, scratch that. The technical term is linearization. Solidity might just pick one silently. That means your contract could be executing feature B's logic when you desperately needed feature A's logic. Yikes. Fortunately, the cure for this identity crisis is brilliantly simple. We just have to step in, act as the manager, and tell the system exactly who answers that intercom page. We do this by using an explicit override declaration right in our main contract. By writing override feature A, feature B, and then explicitly returning feature A.sportsFeature, we literally rewrite the blueprint. We're telling the compiler, hey, I know both of these exist, but I am explicitly choosing feature A. Ambiguity destroyed. Bug fixed.
Section 4, State Inconsistency, Ghosting the Cabs.
With our selectors all untangled, we face bug number 2, which I like to call ghosting the parents. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it maps out the chain of command and exactly where it snaps. Step 1, our function modifier starts up, setting an in-transfer flag to true. Step 2 is where the lifecycle hook before token transfer is supposed to run. But look at that, there's a missing link. The developer overrode the hook to add custom logic, but completely forgot to call the parent's version using super. Because they omitted that step, step 3, where the modifier is supposed to finish and reset the flag to false, gets entirely derailed under certain state conditions. Let's contrast what we expected to happen with what actually happens. In the expected state, our modifier acts like a clean light switch, right? It turns the reentrancy flag on before the transfer and cleanly flips it off afterward. But in our broken state, because that overwritten hook skips the super call, the base contract state logic is just bypassed. The flag gets turned on, but the reset sequence is totally broken. So the flag stays permanently on. From that moment forward, every single transfer is going to fail with a reentrant error. The contract is effectively bricked. No way around it. The fix here is just as elegant as our first one. To restore perfect harmony to the state, we simply restore the super call. By inserting super dot before token transfer inside our override, we guarantee that the parent contract actually gets to execute its crucial state management logic before our custom logic runs. This keeps the parent state perfectly consistent, the modifiers stay happy, and our little light switch toggles on and off exactly as engineered.
Section 5, the regression test arsenal, locking it down. Okay, so fixing a bug once isn't enough. You have to make sure it never ever comes back. Robust testing methodologies like this are actually a huge focus in the broader development courses taught at Forge College. Here's the foolproof 3-step flowchart we use as engineers to guarantee a bug stays squashed. Step 1. We write a targeted Hardhat test that deterministically reproduces the exact failure. We want to see that red error text. Step 2. We apply our explicit overrides and our superfixes to the contract. Step 3. We run the test suite again. If it turns green, we don't just celebrate and move on. We commit that specific test to our permanent test suite.
This permanent collection of tests forms what we call our regression test harness. Think of a regression test harness like pouring digital concrete over your newly repaired foundation. It's an automated suite that just constantly runs in the background. If a future developer accidentally removes that supercall next year, the regression test will instantly fail, catching the error way before it ever reaches a mainnet deployment. It locks your structural integrity firmly in place. Section 6. Locking down the blueprint. The debug report.
We've poured the digital concrete, and now we need to document it with the ultimate developer deliverable, the debug report. Now, it doesn't have to be a novel. A simple markdown table is absolutely the gold standard for communicating with future contributors. On the left side, we clearly define the problem, selector collision and omitted super. On the right, the exact fix applied, explicit override and calling the superhook. It's clean, it's instantly understandable, and it provides a perfectly clear map for anyone reviewing the code architecture.
So the crucial point here is really a set of 3 golden rules for safe inheritance that you should take away from this explainer today. Rule 1, whenever multiple base contracts share an identical signature, you must explicitly override and choose a delegate. Rule 2, whenever you override a lifecycle hook, always call super to preserve the base class state. And Rule 3, never trust a fix until you've locked it down with a deterministic regression test. If you stick to these, your optimized contracts are going to remain virtually unbreakable. And with those bugs squashed and our test passing, we are finally ready for the fun stuff. Now that you've got a rock-solid, stabilized foundation, is it ready for the EIP 2981 royalties upgrade? That is exactly what we're going to be tackling in our exciting next module, where we'll integrate standard royalty interfaces without breaking a single thing we just fixed. To continue your Web3 learning journey and dive even deeper into this topic, be sure to visit forge.college. Thanks so much for joining me in the lab today, and I'll see you in the next explainer.